Constructed in 1893, this building had its beginnings as a 2.5-story school and consisted of one room on the ground level and one upstairs. 4 rooms were added on the north in 1894. The foundation was of rock and the exterior walls were of light red brick. To the southwest was an arched entrance designated as the boys' entrance. The corresponding arch on the east side had a sign posted above as the girls' entrance. On the main south projection of the building, under the gable windows, was a plaque stating, District School. A tower was located on the southwest corner, and on the second floor of the tower was the principal's office. The school was built as a grade school, but was used for a high school when the central school was built around 1911. 3 rooms were later added in the attic space, making 9 rooms for the high school. On the 2nd of May, 1909, the Pleasant Grove ward was divided, creating the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd wards. James H. Walker was called as Bishop of the 3rd Ward. This building was rented from the school district to be used for Sunday school. Sacrament services and MIA were held on the northwest and northeast basement rooms of the Timpanogos Stake building, located on the northwest corner of Center and 300 East Streets. In 1921, a new high school was built at 100 East and 200 South. With the completion of the high school, there was no purpose or use of the building by the school district. The 3rd Ward made a decision to purchase the building. M.S. Christiansen was bishop at that time. There was a dispute with the title which took a year to resolve. The 3rd Ward began an extensive remodeling program under the direction of Bishop Frank D. Atwood on the 11th of September, 1929. The original roof was removed and a lower roof was constructed. The tower was removed. A main entrance was constructed on the east. The brick was covered with stucco. The inside was completely rearranged. The chapel with the pulpit on the west, Relief Society room, and 2 restrooms were located on the ground floor. On the 2nd floor, the cultural hall was located on the north side. The kitchen was located in the southeast corner.
Sometimes they brought their heated water from home, carried it up those stairs. Catherine Adams said today at DUP, "Oh, I remember those days that we packed water upstairs so that we could wash the dishes when we had a banquet."
They had ward dishes, the glass dishes were in the cabinets there, and you didn't bring your own dishes from home those days. They'd break all that glassware out, and of course you had to wash them, and that's the way they do it. Three tubs there, wasn't it? And they'd wash them and dry them and put them back up in the cupboard after the meal was over.
3 classrooms and a bishop's office were also located on the 2nd floor. The basement had 2 classrooms, a boiler room, and a coal room. This remodeling cost $32,000. Sister Gladys Hilton made a note in her journal, and I quote, "Sunday, June 22nd, 1930, had meeting in our lovely new church. Stake presidency were our speakers, special music," unquote. It took time to finish all the detail work and to finance the remodeling. It wasn't until the 27th of March, 1932, that President Heber J. Grant was able to dedicate the meeting house. The 3rd Ward was divided at a ward conference on February 28, 1954. The territory east of 500 East became the new 6th Ward. To provide adequate facilities for the activities, it was decided to do an addition and remodel. In 1956, plans and specifications were developed. The new plans called for a cultural hall to be added onto the west ground level, along with other additions.
Before they added on to that, to the old building, I remember they had a barbecue, dug a pit and barbecued. Anyone remember if it was a beef or a pig? But,
I think it was a pig, I don't know.
but anyway, that was sure good. Then they had a tennis court on the northwest corner of the lot, and I remember we loved tennis, and we played it enough that there was no fuzz on the balls. And usually the net wasn't there, so we'd stretch a rope across and then have to guess if it went over or under.
Had to argue, see if it was
Yeah.
All labor was furnished by dedicated members of the two wards. Everyone pitched in to support the project.
But there a lot of ingenuity went into the building. George Smith and Bishop Spencer was an electrical engineer, and Ovid Jepson was a contractor, and the plumbers here in the ward, and there was a lot of good craftsmen here.
Anyway, we wanted to dig this depression, make us a scout room. Church said, no way. Anyway, they left, and Ned Penrod came down, did the digging. They had it all in. Once it was in, the church decided they'd leave it be. So we got our scout room.
Let's see, was it you that pushed me?
No, I was reaching for it.
We were putting shingles on the west slope, and it was in November.
Yeah, December.
December.
Don't know whether it was early spring or late
No,
fall.
it was,
Either November, December, seemed like December.
anyway, it
Go ahead.
started to snow just a little bit. Of course, we had just a few more shingles put on before we could leave. When I shifted my weight to move, that's when I took off. And the next thing I know, I was over the edge, laying down on the ground. The hardest part of it was trying to get these guys to pack me inside and get me out of the snow.
Didn't know whether we ought to move you or not.
So I was in the wheelchair for a few months after that.
Say, you've been limping all your life after
Yep.
that, haven't you?
How many feet do you estimate that drop?
About 30.
30 feet,
30 feet.
at least, yeah.
Work continued well into the night on many occasions, so many people willingly hammered, painted, swept, or whatever was needed. This building stands as a monument to their efforts. Their devotion, contributions, and willing service are kept on the records of the Lord.
My dad was carpenter and he was volunteering down here like everyone else. And he was working in one of the upstairs classrooms and had a heart attack and died right here in the building. So we had his funeral here, and Ira came in his wheelchair. He was still laid up with his broken feet.
After the addition and remodeling, the building included a newly renovated chapel, with the pulpit having been changed from the west end to the east end. This took some getting used to. It seems so strange.
Well, in the cultural hall, before they remodeled it, the cultural hall had a grade of about 6% or 7% or 8% grade.
The chapel.
The chapel.
Yeah, the chapel.
No carpet. They had runners, rubber runners, and but it was lovely for the meetings because everyone could see the stage the way it was. But in the remodel, that floor had to be taken out because the pulpit was on the other side, so they had to make it level with the cultural hall. There's quite a renovation there.
And they assigned families each a bench to strip off the old varnish. Did that up in the old recreation hall, and used up gallons of paint remover to
Stripper, yeah.
strip the benches and to before they were painted again.
Dad and Floyd's brother too, but I was down there helping with the plumbing, and he'd been up on an 8-foot step ladder. He'd been up on that ladder to reach something, and when he got through, he laid the wrench on the top of the ladder and forgot about it. And he went to move the ladder, and this wrench, I think it's about an 18-inch wrench.
Oh.
That came down and hit him on the head. He rubbed his head. He said, "Well, at least it didn't knock me down." I was thinking it's a good thing that wasn't a 24-inch wrench. It wouldn't have knocked him down.
Also included in the renovation were 2 bishops' offices, an all-purpose room in the basement, 12 classrooms, Relief Society room, 2 dressing rooms off the stage, a cloak room, and children's meeting room. The original upstairs cultural hall was divided, creating an Aaronic priesthood room, also to be used as a little theater, and many storage closets. A large electrically operated door was designed by George Albert Spencer, and fabrication, supervised by George Smith, was installed to allow overflow into the cultural hall when required.
I think, didn't George Smith engineer the door, the big door?
Yeah, but made that big door, very heavy door, and they balanced it with barrels full of rocks. They're still up there to
Counterweights.
counterweights is what it was. Mm-hmm. I remember them shooting the nails in the metal frame of that. Had a gun they shot the rivets in with.
At the south end of the cultural hall, a spacious kitchen was built with all the modern conveniences, and a new heating and air conditioning system was added for our comfort. After 17 months, the building was ready for occupancy. Dedication services were held on the 7th of November, 1958. Elder A. Theodore Tuttle of the First Council of the 70 offered the dedicatory prayer. Serving as the Pleasant Grove Timpanogos Stake presidency at this time was Boyd L. Fugel. His counselors were Elwood Allen and Ertman Christensen. As the population increased, ground was broken on the 10th of March, 1973, for a new building at 700 East Grove Creek Drive. This chapel was dedicated on the 17th of November, 1974, and the move left the 3rd Ward, the only ward occupying this building, for a period of 10 months, when a new 11th Ward was created on the 31st of August, 1975. Continual growth of the church made it necessary to divide the 6th Ward in September of 1979, forming a new 16th Ward to be housed in this building. It was a return once again for many who had attended here before. The inclusion of this ward made it necessary to once more remodel this building to accommodate a new bishop's office. It was decided to renovate the northeast foyer. The 2 dressing rooms and cloakroom were changed to house the new office.
The old Third Quorum of Elders, these guys were not dancers. There weren't a lot of dancers in this ward. But anyway, upstairs above the chapel was the recreation hall. There are just 2 main beams that cross that chapel that holds the rest of it up. And this one night we were up, we had, I don't know who it was that we had playing for us, the orchestra. They started to play the bunny hop. I don't know if any of you know what the bunny hop was. But it was a tune where everybody, when they started playing Lee Carlson and Betty Carlson, they were the dancers. They started the line, the rest of us serpentined behind them, and we were all synchronized, and it was just la da da and like that on the floor. MS was your uncle, was he not? He was the custodian. He happened to come over. He lived across the road. And being as the elders were here, I think he was a little nervous, so he came over to see what was going on. And he came into the east door. The chapel door must have been open because he could see the ceiling. He turned the lights on. And that big beam on the east end was flexing so much that flakes of, I guess, plaster off the ceiling was popping off. And he came running up those stairs, just, stop, stop. And I think if he hadn't come over, the way that was going, we could have put that whole thing right down in the middle of the chapel, and everybody with it.
Used to have some good golden green balls. They don't have golden green balls, at least around this area anymore. There used to be big activities on the third week in March every year. And a lot of formals and a lot of pretty decorating of the cultural hall, and they're big events. It costs too much to decorate now, I guess, but they're important events.
We always had a live orchestra.
Yep.
That's when we had to dance.
We took in every one in the stake. We went to all the golden greens.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great.
Some of us were in trouble anyway, and Thelma picked me out. I was trying to hide behind Clute, probably. But anyway, she got me by the ear and took me up that whole flight of stairs, upstairs to our classroom. And that's why my ears are big.
A lot of memories here, a lot of mutual, a lot of scouting here. When we were younger, that was all of our life. Our life was scouting and going to school and church activities. All the scouting activities. We used to go to Granddaddy's, and it was all organized here. And then we went skunking, you know. A lot of people have heard about skunking, the cave up American Fork Canyon, and that went on for a long time.
Still going on.
Secret order of the skunk skull. Nobody knows too much about because you just sworn to secrecy.
If you lived everywhere, any ward except the third ward, it was an honor to be Eagle Scout.
Mm-hmm.
If you lived in the third ward, it was a disgrace not to be an Eagle Scout.
Yeah, Gus wouldn't allow anything else, would he?
The following brethren have served as bishops in this building up through the renovation in 1957. They are Bishop James H. Walker, Bishop Martin S. Christiansen, Bishop Frank D. Atwood, Bishop Harold M. Wright, Bishop Joseph S. Walker, Bishop Neil Y. Fugel, Bishop Calvin Walker, and Bishop Willis M. Banks. Then the Sixth Ward having been newly created, Bishop George Albert Spencer served as its bishop. Since the building renovation in 1957, there have been 25 additional bishops who have served in this building. Also, this building has housed 2 stake presidencies, while the Timpanogos Stake Center was renovated in 1999 and 2000. Those of us who have grown to maturity here, and others as well, have developed a great love for the history associated with this great building.
A sleepy little town, so old and tumbled down, with golden poplar trees, and oh, what memories! The house where I was born, the roosters crow each morn. It's autumn time before. The corn stalks and the grain, the smell of dusty rain, a frosty meadow stream, the peaches served with cream. It's autumn time in Pleasant Grove. Remember our autumn romances. They ended oh so soon. The hay rides and picnics and dances, an old time tune, a harvest moon, the bandstand in the park, deserted in the dark, the empty swimming hole, the kisses that we stole. I guess I'll always yearn to once again return when autumn comes to Pleasant Grove. Remember our autumn romances. They ended oh so soon. The hay rides and picnics and dances, an old time tune, a harvest moon, the bandstand in the park, deserted in the dark, the empty swimming hole, the kisses that we stole.